Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Agile Q&A with Humble Associates.
That's right. Good afternoon. Welcome back for another episode of Q&A with us, Arif and TK. We're excited to be back with you again.
Every 2 weeks, more questions. Thank you for sending us your wonderful questions. I think we've got some really nice ones, and hopefully you can enjoy the answers. By the way, let us know where you're coming from, and if you have any questions or any follow-up questions, you can use the comment box and let us know what you think.
That's exactly right. Yes, we were really excited to be able to go through what you've been sending us, aren't we, TK?
Indeed, and I have a first one coming up, which is all about
Brilliant.
the tips for using Agile in HR. I've
Oh,
got an HR
okay.
person sending this question, and she was asking me, TK, but how can I use it in HR? So, Arif, do you have any
Yes.
tips?
Well, I mean, there are some, we work with some people using it, haven't we?
We
With
do,
some
we
software.
do.
So I think there's plenty. I mean, so there's two sides of it. Are you looking to improve your ways of working as a HR team, perhaps in terms of how you deliver your HR services to your customers, i.e., your employees of your organization? That's normally what we find, right,
Mm.
in the type of examples. And I think that the principles of agility work quite well. And if you treat the, as I just said, what you offer to your employees, treat your employees as customers, right? Treat the services you offer as that, as services, and take an agile mindset to how you deliver those services, you'll definitely reap some benefits, which is, okay, how do we, keep the customer in mind? How do we deliver little and often? And how do we iterate over what we're delivering? So if it's a brand new training program that you're releasing out to your employees, how could you iterate over that? How could you test and learn? How could you deliver small increments and then evolve it and then get feedback, etc., etc.? And if you keep an outcome a mindset into what you're delivering, you'll be able to measure what you're doing as well and get real time feedback from your customers.
It's a very
Some
good
some
point, Arif.
some
Yeah.
high level tips and insights there. I think. What do you think, TK? What
Well, I
would you
think
do differently?
so. It's actually quite interesting because I remember I've been to like two meetups of Agile HR in London, and my wife is an HR specialist, and it's actually quite interesting how you can. The question is not from her, but you can understand HR the way you understand that, which is a service department that helps other departments or employees like organizers, trainings, and so on. But many HR people think about themselves as compliance experts.
Mm,
And by which I mean, and I've been to this particular meetup, and one thing really worried me, which is the HR people over there used agility to as a process of enabling better work, as in, just the boards and managing flow and Kanban and so on. But they forgot the side that you've mentioned, Arif, about treating the employees as customers. Now,
mm,
that's difficult in HR because you've got the tension between the organization's needs and the employee's needs. Theoretically, they should coincide, but they don't always do so. And that's what I've seen is the HR people have treated the actual employees as chattel and then just improving the way they work with, making sure that people move through the pipelines and so on. Definitely, our tip, and as you've heard from Arif, is don't do that. Treat your employees as your customers because you're actually serving them, aren't you?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. Exactly. And I think this service, and we look at the agile principles, and they
Mm.
talk about importance of the customer being absolutely paramount in what you're doing, right? And if you don't offer value to them, and you're not offering value to them on a regular basis, you have no way of knowing what you're doing is effective or the right thing or helping them in any way. So, they are not just numbers in an organization that
In a
you need
spreadsheet,
to,
yeah.
yeah, in a spreadsheet, right? They're not employee numbers. They are people. They have needs, and you'll have diverse needs amongst your population of employees. What matters to some employees might not matter as much to others. So where some need have, for example, mental health needs
Mm-hmm.
over others. There may be some who have family needs, which are there's going to be a whole diversity of needs. So really take the time to treat them as your customers. And in the same way that your organization clearly offers services to the people it delivers to, then it's going to be very similar in terms of that approach. Sorry, I'm laughing.
I'm also
We are
laughing because we've
distracted
just, yeah.
by our video things going on here. Anyway, that's my answer. What do we have
Yes, and
next, TK?
if you're not treating your employees as customers, you will become the Department of Compliance. And we're just laughing because we've just talked with Arif about he's using his wonderful phone. And, you know, if you're using an Apple product, which we all love, sometimes it just thinks for us. And sometimes, you know, Arif's phone thought that, you know, he moved, but he didn't. So there you go. Artificial intelligence. It's coming. We love it, but it sometimes has some work to do. So I have...
Before we move on,
yes.
I would love to Kansas City. So if you please do put in the chat where are you from, where you're dialing in from, where you're joining us from on the wonderful internet, and if you have any thoughts or comments on what we're saying or new questions, please put them in the chat. We do love to interact with you, learn from you, and support you because you are what make this community work. Thank you.
Indeed you are. So let's thank you. And Arif, you'll have to, as always, be the person that looks into the comments because I never can see them, but it's LinkedIn. We love it.
Nothing yet.
I think I know how to get them, but maybe for the future. All right. So that's an interesting one. The one that sometimes is difficult to answer. So yeah, if you want to learn the basics of agility, what's the best course?
Oh, well, we do one, so we should tell people what we do, shouldn't we, TK?
Absolutely. But on the other hand, Arif, we're not offering it to the public. So we're offering our course to organizations because we offered it to the public and some people were interested, but you know, their interest wasn't amazing. So it seems like people want to learn agility, but not enough to sign up to a course.
Perhaps. So then what the other alternatives are? Well, you got books. You've got other resources, webinars, events.
Events like this one, yeah.
Events like this one. Do come and join our Agile 101 series. We're hoping you learn a lot by joining us. We've also got, what else have we got? I mean, there are lots of public courses. I mean, it depends where you are in the world. And so if you are, you know, here in Europe or in the UK, there's plenty of stuff we could recommend. Some of you are in the States, for instance, probably different. And it varies, isn't it? You got everything from method-based learning. So what I mean by method-oriented learning. So things around certain methods like Scrum or Kanban or DSDM or whatever those popular Agile methods still does, yeah. Whatever those popular Agile methods are, they do their own learning routes and journeys. You can explore those. Not going to, I don't know if there's any, I mean, there's plenty out there. There are some that do Agile only, so more broad Agile only training offerings. The one we do is IC Agile accredited. So if you want to have a look at public IC Agile courses, that's an option. They do a fundamentals of agility course, a bit like ours, but aimed at the public. So anyone can turn up and join. That's something that you may want to look at. I don't know. What did you have in mind here, T, when you looked at this question?
Well, I think the person was just the person trying to figure out how to best learn agility. And I would definitely recommend our wonderful services, but there's other people that we like, that we recommend. Definitely Tobias Mayer, our friend, and he also has a community and does some wonderful things. So if someone asks me for like a trainer, we would definitely recommend him. What I would say though is many people are trying to find something and stumble upon a very popular course called the Certified Scrum Masters course. So Arif, do you think it's a good option to start learning agility on this particular course?
I don't know. I mean, I mentioned that at the start, right? You get method-oriented training that exists, and people have there is an appeal to it because people think it is a very simplistic, easy introduction to agility, and so therefore going on that will give them a nice starting point, right? Which, from a process point of view, yes, I think it's, you know, if you want a easy to learn to an extent process to help you get started and on your feet, it's very popular for that reason. Does it teach you agility? That's a different question, I think. It is a very much oriented around the Scrum process and method. They argue that it is using agile values and principles. There are others who argue it doesn't sufficiently. So, that's something to think about. So if you're interested in agility, then I don't know if Scrum as a method of choice is going to meet that aim. That's all I would say.
That's a very good point, Arif. It's probably not for now to talk about these various opinions, but an interesting thing is we ourselves are doing our fundamentals course mainly for organizations, because if you go to a public course, you may learn agility in theory. But the thing is, the way organizations apply agility is quite individual. So we prefer to do it inside organizations so we can adapt our training to what the organization actually does. It's quite a shame if you learn agility as a dry run, as a theoretical thing, and then go to an organization and find that it's being used differently, and it will only get you frustrated and confused. So I would say, yes, you can learn agility in abstract, but I would possibly try to learn it inside the organization you're working in, so you can understand how to apply it. And the question is, what if my organization doesn't use agility? And how do I get into that? But that's a separate question for a separate time, I think. And let's move on to the next one. Any interesting comments, Arif?
No, not yet. I was just replying to someone else's comment about not being able to attend. But anyway, yeah. So,
well, you'll be able to see the recording because this stream is available afterwards. So let's go to the third question we have, which is all about, what is it about? What kind of leader is needed for Agile to succeed? Quite pertinent question, especially since, it's our main area of interest and work currently.
Well, we talked about this. We talk about this a lot, don't we? I mean, we could probably spend a whole half an hour just talking about this in terms of qualities, leadership qualities, what makes an effective leader when it comes to agility. We could talk about. I mean,
I guess we should summarize it in a small package. Sarif, what do you think is the summary for this question?
The clue is in. Excuse me. If we're looking at some of the agile values and principles, the clue kind of is there in terms of what type of leadership style one might need, and some of the things that we're talking about is agility talks about is the idea of where decisions sit and lie within the idea of a team. So, first thing, there being a team. A team is a very important unit of being able to deliver work. What does that team look like, and how it needs to be formed, and how it needs to make decisions? And there's a lot around that probably leadership needs to take into account. So are you a leader who can facilitate that type of environment where decisions are made within a team, that there's high degrees of collaboration, where you support ownership and accountability at that team level? Those type of things are things that you want to be thinking about. Or are you someone who controls what happens to a high degree and retains ownership of decision making? That's the question. And so, what culture are you breeding in your organization that either supports that from happening or makes that difficult? Those are the aspects of leadership you need to be thinking about if you're a leader when it comes to promoting or succeeding in an agile environment. How would you describe it to our leaders out there?
Well, I have also an answer, but I think an even simpler one. If you want to know if in the organization your leaders are capable of supporting agility, the leader you need is the one that can reflect on their own leadership. Now, agility is all about inspecting and adapting, and a leader is a part of it. It's less about a particular style, which we talked about a lot on other meetings. Look at our previous live shows about agile leadership. But the most important part is wherever you start from, I don't think you can possibly think you're infallible or you're always right. As a leader, I'm not saying you should doubt yourself. I don't know if you've seen it today, Arif. There's a nice interview by the New York Times guy with Elon Musk.
Okay.
we seem to be talking about. He's a popular guy. He basically he is a leader. One would say there's some success associated with him. Others say that he's really controversial, which he is with his views. So he basically says the interviewer or the moderator of the conversation was asking him, look, right, you've got advertisers saying they don't like your views, and they're basically saying they will not advertise on your platform. And he basically said they can go F themselves. People
Yes,
are not
I
going
read
to
something about this.
blackmail him
Pretty
with
rude.
money and so on, right? So on one hand, you will see that he's on one hand of the spectrum. He definitely doesn't seem like he has an imposter syndrome or anything. He just says, I'm right, deal with it, right? I don't care what anyone else thinks because I am the leader, I'm doing this for good. And then he goes into the whole spiel about Earth and the history judging him. Some sort of a thing. So this is not the leader you want because he clearly isn't showing any reflections. Like, okay, well, maybe if people don't want to advertise on my platform, which is my primary business model, maybe I'm doing something interesting. I'm not saying wrong. Maybe I should think about that. You want a leader that has this mindset, not necessarily Elon Musk, although he's kind of cool for so many people. So there you go. You definitely will have action in your
So we're
company.
talking about the opposite of Elon Musk. The
I'm not saying the
simple
opposite
answer.
because there's another thing that would be opposite, Arif. The leader plagued with the imposter syndrome, indecisive, someone that
That's true.
is reflecting on themselves and going into
So
paralysis.
we're talking about the balanced leader. Uh-huh. Okay,
Well,
that's
it's
even
unfair to say that. I would say that it would be someone more on the reflective side than
reflect.
the infallible side, right? So it's not necessarily balance, which is like in the middle. I would say someone that you could say, for instance, you could sometimes maybe even see me. It's like your phone trying to inspect and adapt. Someone that would say, okay, I would like you to do that. I think is it the right cause? I've analyzed this. But does anyone else have anything to say? Because I can't always be right, or something to that effect. That's what I think. Not necessarily Elon Musk. All right, your phone is definitely reacting to you not talking. So I'll give you another question, so you at least will be in focus, which is, this is all actually about focus. Is Agile more focused on people or outcomes?
Good one.
I know, right?
Or both. What do you think? I think we can argue about. I mean, there is clearly an importance on. Well, I mean, they're one of the four value statements, right?
Mm.
People and interactions over process and tools. So the people is in the original, four value statements.
But you also
So
have, working software over comprehensive documentation, which you can
exactly
interpret as outcomes
as
versus,
outcomes.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
as just
so what's more
general outcomes.
important, outcomes or
I don't
people?
think they're both important. That's the answer.
That's a cop out,
Simple.
Eric. Come on.
It is but it's true. We both have equal weighting, and I think if you look at the underlying principle, the 12 principles, we've got everything there, covering
Hmm.
the value that you're delivering, how you should do that, focus on customer, which is people. There's also stuff on we talked about earlier about the idea of a team, collaborative working, trusting people to to do the right thing and deliver the right thing. So there's clearly a mixed answer. Agility says that both are needed in order to be successful. I know you're not happy with my
Well, I
uh,
think I think you might be
both
right there,
side
and I agree with you. But
two-sidism.
I would say in a different way. I would maybe have a picture of yin and yang because, like, people create outcomes, but without
Yeah,
the outcomes, we will not be able to afford uh, to employ ourselves or to have an organization, right? The people will have to move somewhere else, and we wouldn't be able to make a living. And thus, one supports the other, and it goes into a circle. I think you're right, Arif. There needs to be an equality, and what happens is you can clearly see that we like to drift from one side to another. At least we see it in many organizations that sometimes they just say, we need the outcomes and so on, or we really need to cater for the people because the people are the most important, instead of reflecting on the circular nature, which I think many people miss. And it's just easy to say, now it's all about the delivery and the outcomes. really be mindful that when we go out of balance, it might be difficult for the other side that's hurting. So there you go. Good answer, Arif. I like your answer, but I can see that you like the questions too. Yeah, I've been definitely talking to a lot of people, and they've been giving me these questions. And some of you have been sending them. So Arif, is there anything interesting in the comments?
Unfortunately, nothing else. I think our comments is a bit quiet today, but please
It's
do
probably
put an
because of your
emoji
great answers,
reaction.
Arif. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. So if you're not happy with answers, please put something in the comments
Yes,
and
we
add an
can give a
emoji
thumbs up to
reaction.
Arif, right?
Thumbs up or a light bulb or
Yes.
even a haha. So if you found it funny,
Haha, or
then
maybe even a tip how to get the stage, whatever thing Arif has on
don't worry
that,
about that.
not to misbehave.
I think I figured it out, but we'll come back
Good
to that.
stuff. Good stuff.
So if anyone does have any comments on what we're saying or a new question they'd like answered, please put it in the chat. We are here to
and we'll
serve you.
most
So
certainly answer that. But I've
we
put a
will
new
definitely.
question in about, well,
No
someone
worries.
actually asked me that. It's like, TK, we work with projects, not products. So can we use agility if it's all about products?
Yes, maybe. I guess. I see. I don't.
That's a very decisive answer, already.
This is very difficult because you see
No easy questions for us.
the typical projects have some finite, you know, lifetime, right? And they start and end, which isn't bad. That's always possible. But
It's part of life, isn't it? Yeah.
what's more challenging is when things are set in stone before people start working on the problem. And so when that happens, you have this real tension of, well, this has been agreed up front, but we found an issue here and we need to evolve it, change it, iterate on it, etc. in an easy way, not one filled with barriers and bureaucracy. So how do we navigate that tension? I am a bit lost with that one. I'm not lost. I think I'm a bit going to struggle to give a clear answer, TK. So would you say that they need to make changes to their processes or approach to running that project in order to be successful in applying agility? Is that what you would think?
I think many people. It's the same with agility. It's the same with many things. They're more complex than we first think, and projects and project management is more complex. So what happens quite often is a project manager is an entry-level management position. And thus, what you might find, despite many well-educated and experienced project managers, you will find that people that are project managing may not be that experienced. And they may not be, properly trained and may not know the typical definition of a project. So typically, a project is temporary, yes, but it's also unique, and it's also, dare I say, not challenging, but there is some difficulty to it. It's not a run-of-the-mill thing. It's unique. It's temporary, and it's complex. There's nothing here that says that you need to plan everything up front. It doesn't, that doesn't say that there needs to be a lot of bureaucracy. Even the popular methods of project management don't necessarily say that. They said, yeah, planning is a tool, but you don't have to necessarily do this in a particular way. So I would say your problem maybe isn't with projects, it's with the aspects that Arif has talked about, right? That are difficult. And my question is, are these working for you? If they are, or if you really cannot change them or don't want to change them, that's fine. There are, in the Agile onion, in this stratus of agility, there's principles, practices that you might find useful. So I remember I've been to a conference when they've talked about agility in construction, in civil engineering. And what they did is they adopted stand-up meetings, right? They met every day, did their walk around the board and so on. And that's the only thing they adopted. It's fine. It's great. I'm not saying, you're agile. I'm also not saying you're not agile. What I'm saying is it's great that you found a practice that comes from agility that's applicable and helpful to you. Being or not being agile, does it matter? These are just names, aren't they?
Yeah.
Anything to add, Arif?
Yeah. No, that's a good compromising based answer. Thank you, TK. We got 5 minutes left, so I don't know
Oh
if
my
you
God,
want
yeah. So
to
maybe one more question, Arif. This is an
one more
interesting one
question.
I can see. Um,
Okay.
so simple, really. What's the ideal size of an Agile team?
Oh, nice. We normally talk about this idea of a pizza size, isn't
Yes,
it? So
depending on how
the
much you
number.
like pizza.
Well, okay. Assuming most people do, then there is this view that
Mhm.
an ideal team size is the size of the number of slices of pizza. So 6 to 8.
Oh,
That's what I.
really? I've heard a
Yeah, yeah,
different
yeah.
story to it.
Yeah,
I've
oh, go
heard
on.
that about a two pizza team, which is a
Oh, two
team that
pizza
you can
team, is
feed
it?
with two pizzas.
Oh, sorry. Maybe that's the one then.
But I
I'm
like
getting
your
my.
interpretation, to be honest. It's actually quite correct, isn't it? I mean, correct. I mean, popular. Arif just invented a new pizza rule.
There we go.
Behold.
New pizza roll. There we go. We can talk about this
But
somewhere.
wait, wait,
Maybe in
wait,
our.
wait, wait. There's
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
always
yeah.
more than meets the eye in our questions
More
and
than these.
answers,
Yes.
right? So I personally have been exploring military teams because I got into wargaming and I was exploring the sizes of platoons and why they're so. So in the military organization, you've got team or squad, depending on the country. Then you've got a platoon, and then you've got a company, right? And the team is where people can really rely on each other and they can easily be a small brotherhood, a very small unit. Then you've got a platoon, which is one officer, like a lieutenant, can command, and I mean that in the military sense, a group of people. So it's usually around 30 people. And then you've got a company, which is a number of 150 people. Now, since in agility, we don't necessarily have NCOs like sergeants, and we practice, self-managing and so on. I think the number that Arif just quoted, so this one slice or two pizza team, or like 7 plus minus 2, Arif, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, six
Is
to eight. Yeah.
6 to 8, right? So you've got a situation to manage the life. So the team is small enough to manage the lines of communication between people so the communication doesn't fall over. That's the reason why there's this particular size. But some people like it smaller, Arif. Is an effective team if it's just 3 people?
I don't know. It would be difficult. Depending on because you see, the whole point of having a team
Yeah.
is what that there is interdependency, right?
Yeah.
Where, excuse me, the team members are reliant on each other to solve the problem.
Mhm.
So the question is, are 3 team members sufficient in order to solve a problem together? Assuming it's relatively complex, you may then have to borrow in some skills to then do the work. It's possible, but there would be other costs, perhaps potentially, to that approach. That's what I would say.
And I think so too. I think that there's a overhead of being a team, right? So
Yes.
compared to just a group of people doing whatever, to being a team, there is a certain communication and process overhead with agility that's quite apparent because we have all these practices and so on. That if you have a very small team of 2 or 3 people, it might be an overkill and you might struggle to make it effective, whereas with a group of 6, 7-ish people, it's much more effective. But then again, the larger the team, the more strained the communication lines are. So sometimes if people have poor communication skills, even 6 is big enough for them, or even too big, right?
Yeah. But then we can explore other communication protocols that would support. It doesn't have to be full on synchronous all the time. We may hybrid with async, synchronous, and then look at forms of async. There's ways, I think, around all of these things that can come to the benefit of the team members. But yes, you're right. Obviously, the bigger the team gets, the harder it is to communicate effectively, right?
And
then
some people just really struggle to communicate.
Exactly, and some people do, and then you have problems with things like equal voice, where everyone gets heard.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. So
it's a good point, right? Some people struggle to communicate because they communicate too much. Some people struggle to communicate because they communicate not enough, or any other varieties. Yeah. Communication is most important, isn't it? And Arif has given me
We
subtle
are at
clues that
time.
we're actually
Okay.
at time.
Yes, we are. So
We are.
thank you. Thank you for everyone joining us and listening to our Q&A for this week. Some great questions, TK, that you received. And please remember, do send them to us. We're more than happy to deal with them, no matter how complex. We'll try our best. Put your comments in the chat, and you'll probably get an email from us with some information soon about future events. What else, TK?
Yeah, we have a leadership development of agility, very popular event. Nearly 1,000 people have registered. We'll probably get quite a good viewership there. And the next Agile Q&A is in 2 weeks. Send us your questions, and if they're good questions, you're going to get the typical Arif sigh when I read the question, unless it's the
Nice.
question he's got, so he knows it. Bye bye.
Enjoy your evening if you're in the UK or wherever you are. Thank you very much. Bye bye.